Very important. Because I have a year check on the
Testing.
yeah.
Okay.
I
think I'm just about ready now. I came to the conclusion this morning that I just have to fess up before the whole group.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. I love to rush. I love to rush myself. You know? Get here just in time enough to rush around like a maniac. Because that gives my ego something to do while God arrives. Because I have to sneak God into me. I don't know about y'all. I have to sneak God into me when my ego think is preoccupied with its plans. So that's how I sneak God in. There's a part of me that I just keep completely caught up in my plans, my ideas for what I think is going to make me happy that I've been. Any of you done that before?
Thank you, Earl.
Yeah, it's like, and even though none of your plans ever turn out.
They don't.
You haven't had one plan that turned out exactly the way you planned it. You may have gotten something similar to what you think you wanted, but if you be honest with yourself, it wasn't nothing about it. It was exactly what you visualized and the way you visualized it. If you had told me, 30 years ago when I wanted to be a rock star musician and playing behind Al Green and all this stuff, that one day that I would be sitting up here in this little church teaching something called A Course in Miracles to people who were looking at me in strange ways.
We're strange people.
In a black body with a predominantly people in white bodies. That wasn't my picture of ultimate success. My Rolls Royce is nowhere to be seen. Only way I get in one is I'm the chauffeur. What's wrong with that picture? But I'm still playing it. I'm not. Don't you all dare give up y'all's plans.
Oh my. That's worth it right here.
Woo.
You just go home now. That's so good.
Oh man, I opened this book up to. I thought I was going to talk about something else. And I opened this book up, and the boy said, "No, this is what I want you to talk about." And it's one of those sections of the course. There's sections of the Course in Miracles that no Course in Miracles teacher would teach because they want to keep their students.
Yeah.
And there's some things that the Course in Miracles say that can be so direct and so straight up, but so opposite to what we believe, that people hear it and then they bolt right out of the Course in Miracles. They say, "Oh, this is not for me," And so they're my favorite sections though, because those are the ones that really challenge me to see if I'm really as open-minded as I say I am. Okay. Especially when it comes to hearing other ideas. Not that you have to believe them, but even to be open to hearing them, even if you don't have to believe them. So this section I'm going to cover today, I'm just going to do it anyways. Okay, if I go ahead and do it even though I'm scared to do it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
What
All right.
page is this?
It's on page, because look, check out what page it's on. That'll give you some idea how serious it is. It's 653. So that means it assumes you've gone 652 pages before this, which we haven't. Okay, so be prepared to be shocked. See, all right. 653. Okay, would you take a breath with me just a minute, please? Take a breath with me. Here's a Course in Miracles sentence. There's a tendency to think the world can offer consolation. There's a tendency for us to think that the world can console us, make us feel better. There's a tendency for us to think a person can console us and make us feel better. In other words, there's a tendency to think that the world is going to offer you escape from the very problems that it's the world's purpose to keep. I mean, if you think for a second that at some subconscious level, a person in, let's say, law enforcement wants a city with no crime, you're crazy. Because if there's no crime, he doesn't have a job. You can never trust anything that anybody says to you if they have a personal investment in the situation. You don't go and ask the boyfriend that's begging you to stay his opinion about whether or not you should be with the new boyfriend that you like more. He has a personal investment. He ain't giving you no straight up answer. So whenever you go to anybody asking them for their advice, and they could in any way, that's why your best advice comes on an airplane.
Yeah.
You don't know that person sitting next to you, and so they'll tell you everything. And by the way, I have on boxers. That's what you call a real airplane conversation. You know, you all have really gotten to a trust level there. So the Course says it's a tendency to think that the world can offer consolation and escape from problems that it's the purpose of the world to keep. The part of us that wants to be separate, it's in a world that makes separation seem the main thing you ought to want. That's what it's trying to tell us. It's like we think the world is going to comfort us. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a little rabbit thinking that the lion getting ready to comfort it. You know, it's the purpose of the world to keep you so preoccupied with problems that you forget who you are. You are spirit. You are consciousness. You are awareness. You're not those bodies that you're working every day to maintain. No matter how much people want them. I went to a dance last night. It looked like my bait was doing pretty good. Of course, it says our body is our bait. Yeah. I love how it says the body is a bait. What? Yeah, you know, you put a bait on the hook to catch a fish. Your body is the bait to catch another mind and another body. You know what I'm saying? So there's a part of us that wants to believe it's a body, and there's a part of us that wants to believe it's separate. Agree? That obviously there's a part of us that thinks it's a body because you say my body. And there's obviously a part of us that wants to be separate because it looks like separate people are sitting up here in the room. Agree? Am I saying something strange? Anybody else don't?
No, yeah.
Okay, you see physical bodies? Everybody else see physical bodies?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it says, why should this be? Why should the world seem to offer, why do we think the world's going to offer consolation and escape from problems that is its purpose to keep? He says, because the world is a place where choice among illusions seems to be the only choice. In other words, the only choice I got is which thing that's not real am I going to choose this time to deceive myself that this is what's going to make me happy. So most of the time people sitting back going, oh, what's the next thing that I can come up with that I think is going to make me happy that really doesn't? That's what this book just got through saying. That we're in a place that we're always trying to choose between things that never satisfy us. Completely. I know you get some sort of satisfaction, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Completely. So he says, I'm always trying to choose between things that don't satisfy me completely. And I think the things that don't satisfy me are going to make me feel good one day. So he says, you think that you are in control of outcomes of your choosing. you think that you're in control of how things are going to turn out. You think you're in control of how things are going to turn out. You think you're in control about how this situation you're pondering about is going to come out. You think you're in control about this situation that you think. Y'all know the situation I'm talking about. Each one of y'all know. You know the situation.
We know.
It's the situation you were just considering before you came here. And it's saying that you think that it's going to turn out the way you choose. And then the Court says, and so this is what we think happened to us. He says, you think that within the narrow band between birth and death, okay, I was born and I'm going to die. And there's this narrow band. Birth, death, birth, death. Y'all got it? We think we got the birth and the death, and we exist within this little narrow band of birth and death. And so he says, I think this little narrow band, which he calls a little time, I think this little time is giving you think this little time is given you to use for you alone. I got this little band between birth and death, and I got this little time, and I think that this little time was given to me to use for me. In other words, I got my little lifetime, and I'm going to use my lifetime for me. Anybody else here living their lifetime for them?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's right. I need y'all support. Do y'all really have these thoughts, feelings, emotions? And okay, all right. That really helps a lot when we'll all admit that we think we're separate. We think we can come up with the way we want it to turn out, and that we all think we have some sort of a physical life that seems to start when we're born and start and end when we die. And within that little band, don't we think that we are the ones who can use this time the way we want to?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I like about the Course in Miracles. People say they don't understand it, but the truth is, it's just saying the way we do things. And when somebody actually says the way you do things, when you're doing things in a crazy way, even you don't understand it. He says, the Course says, if we hear little bits of our thinking every now and then, it doesn't sound so crazy. But when somebody says back to us the totality of our thought system, it sounds completely crazy to us. Like, isn't it crazy to spend all your time trying to choose to come up with the next way you getting ready to fool yourself again? And then you call it your creative visualization? What are you doing? I'm creatively visualizing what? The way I'm finna screw myself again. The way I'm gonna do. Here comes the next wrong one. Let's see. What can it be her characteristic? I want this wrong one to have an English accent. That'll make her different from all the other wrong ones. See, you have to laugh at the way we are when you hear it, right? That sounds funny, but that's exactly what we do. And so it's hard for us to believe that we're the #1 TV show in the galaxy. It's hard for us in 3D yet, you know. There are advanced beings with glasses on right now watching us laughing their cans off. Let's see what the humans do. Okay, come on, y'all. Let's see what crazy stuff the humans do. Wow! There's somebody on top of a post office shooting people as they come in. Come on, y'all, put that food down. Look at the humans.
Oh, dear.
They think they have no power. They think they're victims. They think they're on their own. Watch it. We are the humans. It's just the #1 show in the galaxy. I'm complaining about our pay. That's where I've got to draw the line.
Do we get residuals?
Which reminds me, there's a headline I'd like to share with y'all right quick, and I'll be sharing it on and off throughout the hour that we're together. It's the Onion, and I respect the Onion.
Oh,
and it says, universe admits to wronging area man his entire life. That's great. You know, because you always say, the universe is taking care of the universe. The universe admits to wronging this area man his entire life. So finally, even the universe admits that it's doing us wrong. Don't y'all feel that? I used to hear that. I used to go to church and they would say stuff like, there wasn't any such thing as reincarnation. You only live one life. And I was like, wow. And so let me get this straight. We just got one life to get it all corrected and get it all right. I don't know about y'all, there's a ton of sins I had to be aware of. And then we don't even seem to start off equal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we're supposed to start at the starting gate. We only have one life to pull it all off. And I'm black. I was like, what is this? What is it? What? You mean I've got to race with a white person? Or a person that was challenged physically, and he had to like get everything right in one lifetime. He has the same lifetime as everybody else to do it, but to him it seems like he has an unfair advantage. Or a person that's rich versus a person that's poor, but you all got to get it in the same time. I would listen to stuff like that and I would go, it ain't no way I screwed up this much in one lifetime. So this is deep stuff. And so we know that our entire lives we've been in the world trying to come up with a way to make our own selves happy. Agreed?
Yes.
And then we form grievances, which completely destroy our own miracles, by the way. We form grievances because the people that we've assigned roles to refuse to act them out. They act like they got a life of their own. Like they're not here to make us happy. It's ridiculous. So I'll have a plan for the person who said they love me or my friend and everything to help me with the plan that I've come up to make myself happy. And if they don't do it the way that I think they should do it, as quick as they should do it, and with as sincerity and dedication, then I got a grievance. Now I got to act my plan out and go to counseling. And so I'm holding grievances against people because they will not let me control them. That's what I need forgiveness for. I hate my partner. Why? They will not let me control them completely for my own little band of life. You ought to do what I want you to do. Look at how much time I got. So even though you got that much time too, I want you to forget about your little band, and I want you to take care of my band of life. And I love you so much. Oh, I love you. And I'll give you some really crappy sex. You're in the same position for 3 lifetimes. Okay. I reincarnated in the same position of love making. Oh no. Always remember, the truth is always true. I just want to pass that on to y'all.
I'm so crazy, I want to ask what position.
Well, that's getting kind of personal, Judy. It's the position that makes me feel the most guilty. That's my favorite position. You want to know what my favorite anything is? It's the thing I feel the most guilt about. You know that's true. You be honest, y'all. Oh no, I'm telling the truth. The thing you feel most guilt about is the thing you say, whoa, that was a good time. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, you just got the universe beat.
You know people who've been real innocent, they probably not partying. So I would like anybody who feels like saying this, I want you to think of something right now that you've been not giving yourself peace about. I want you to think about an illusion you've been choosing. All right? Okay, and you don't have to say it, but those who feel like saying it, please do. I'd like to say this. I have done all this.
I have done all this.
So you got your thing, y'all up, been out of shape, not quite feeling peace about?
Yeah.
The situation, the circumstance. Y'all got one? All right, let's say it again. I have done all this. Did I say all this? All this. I must undo it. I must undo it. I must undo it. What's the first sentence? I have done all this. What else? I must undo it. That sounds like something that should have been in a play.
Yeah.
I have done all this. I must undo it. I have done all this. I must undo it. What? I have done all this. I must undo it. But nothing like a nice butt. Especially you, black man. You love butts. Okay. Who said that I was channeling? I didn't mean that. That did not come from me. I I'm channeling.
I know.
That's right. I'm not responsible for anything I'm saying. Take it up with God. Leave me alone. Take it up with God. It's funny, I got this comment the other day on my YouTube about one of my video lessons. I mean, it was great. It was about time. I just had an unbelievable run of compliments. I was long overdue for the ego to arrive in my video world, you know. So it's good with someone. I really appreciate your videos, but sometimes, but you know, the music that you play, it's kind of annoying and distracting, and you know, I don't like that music. Just get rid of the music because it annoys me. Okay, so first I tried to pretend I was spiritual, that it didn't really bother me. So I took about a second. Oh, that's just an opinion. What you mean, pastor? What you talking about my video? I was like watching my ego. My ego was like tripping for a minute. I was like, go ahead, get it off. Go ahead, get it off. I've learned that about my ego. It's like, let it have its way. Come on, talk about it. That's the best you can do. I heard that curse word years ago. Come on with something new. You know, can't you? How many pieces you want to chop them into? Can't you do better than that in a technological age like we in right now? Can't you get something to chop more than that many pieces? Let's grind them up. Okay. And then there's another part of me that's going, oh, this is the Holy Son of God. He's one with you. You're the one that's created this. Nothing really happening. It's an illusion. It's a show. Don't give it any power. You give it all the meaning it has for you. The ego goes, bastard! That's his spiritual name, bastard! Okay. But what was the spiritual lesson in that for me was, he didn't appreciate the way I did my video lessons, which was me doing them the way I want them to be. Okay, so his solution was, I should change.
Yeah.
That's what was so funny about it. I don't mind people. I know everybody's not going to like what I do, finally. But what was really interesting to me was he actually felt, because he didn't like the fact that I use music and funk, which I'm here for the music funk people. I ain't even here for the people who don't like music and funk. So that's not even my goal, is to get the people who don't react to music and don't react to aliveness and don't react to joy. I'm not interested in having those people as my students, as my audience, as my anything. So it's really funny. I'm here for the people like me. I'm here for the people like me. I'm not here for the people who are not like me, who I got to convince to come here. Who cares if they come or not? We have more fun when they don't, believe me. You have a lot more fun in a room full of people who are on the same wavelength than you'll ever have with a room full of people where everybody's judging you, trying to get you to prove to them that you're trustworthy, as if they are a gift. Except the person who doesn't trust you is the one you should try to be spending all your time to get their trust, because they're the ones who don't trust you, which means they're not trustworthy. They just showing you that they're not trustworthy. Like, you don't trust nobody.
Sure.
So you're going to get with a person that never trusts you.
For sure.
People who make you work hard to get with them, you're going to be working hard. I guarantee you. You're going to be working hard. We're sentencing you to hard labor. There's this woman I want you to call. So it was just funny to me that rather than him just not watch my video if it wasn't his cup of tea, he had to write me to tell me what I needed to change because it was annoying him, so that he would stay. That's hilarious to me. I said, oh, I need to have some funkier music next week.
Yeah.
Let me repel him even further. That's where I look at it when people ask me to be other than my authentic self. It's like, you just asked for a bigger dose of me than you've ever had. You just asked me to double the dosage on your butt. Because I want to blow you right out of my experience if you can't accept me for who I am. That way I'm not attacking you, and at the same time I ain't having to deal with that part of myself that is you until I've developed a level of forgiveness that this stupid part of myself doesn't affect me anymore. That's the oneness way of looking at your own crap.
Okay.
Like, I'm keeping that part of myself away from me, and I'm keeping away from that part of myself until I'm able to love that part of myself. And the way I'm going to get to the point that I can love that part of myself is I'm going to hang out with the part of myself that loves me. All of the parts of myself that love me. Hello. And so far, I'm still looking for them, but I have faith.
You have hope.
I have hope that there's somebody in the world that can love me just the way I am. There's got to be somebody who, when they get in a relationship with me, they won't ask me to do any kind of change for them whatsoever. They'll be saying, I want you to be more you. I want you to be more you. I want you to be more you. Show me more of you. The more of you I see, the more I love. I'm not asking you to change anything for me because there's nothing wrong with you. But what about if they really crappy and they treat you really bad and you just telling me that you shouldn't be trying to change that? No. You should not be trying to change that. You should be trying to change your own mind because it was your own mind that created that situation that's kicking your butt right now. It's your own mind that created that situation that's kicking your butt right now. And anybody that loves you will never let you get away with the idea that you are the victim of anything that you're experiencing because true power comes from assuming 100% responsibility for your experience. That's where real power comes from. If you want to know where your power is, it's in saying, this might be, you know what? I have done all this. See, that's power. Oh, that relationship right there, the last one, that one, whoa, did I do that good? I mean, the machine gun bullets going past the head, that was good. That was good. Seemed like they had a little anger management problem, but I did it. I have done all this. Then you go, I must undo it.
I must undo it.
Then you go, but I have no idea how I did this. But I have no idea how I did this. What? But I have no idea how I did this. What? I have no idea how I did this. So you would go, you think about the situation that's freaking you out and not freaking you out, that you've been begging for help on, wanting to see it differently. You're ready for it to be gone. You're ready to be unstuck. You say, I have done all this. I must undo it. But I have no idea how I did this. Like you could be in a situation that's freaking you out and you just sit down on the sofa. And when you get really started to really wake up in spirit, you go, I've done all this, I've done all this, I've done all this, I've done all this, I must undo it. I've done all this, I must undo it. I created this situation, I must undo it. I know I'm dealing with this situation on my job or with my mate or with my health or with my, but you know, I have done all this, I must undo it. I've done all this, I must undo it. And then you go, but I have no idea how I did this. I have no idea how I did this. I have no idea how I did this. And then you go, therefore, I must surrender to something else. Check out that last one. Therefore, I must surrender to something else. Why? Because I have no idea how I did this, but at the same time, I must undo it because I have done all this. I don't know how I did it, so I've got to surrender to something greater than me.
But everybody wants to figure it out, and so you just say surrender, and then they say surrender to what? And then they say...
Well, see, what's so cool about that is that all you have to do is apply that to yourself. See, to me, that was like, I had heard that all the time, but I hadn't heard that. My spiritual path became so much easier when I just started to practice it for myself and became completely unconcerned about whether anybody else did it or anybody else believed it or anybody else agreed with me or if anybody else even knew what I was thinking in their presence. Because most people don't realize that when I'm in their presence, all I'm thinking is that they're innocent and that they are powerful, and that they're not victims, and that whatever's going on in your life right now, I know that you can end that today if you decide to change your mind by saying, you did it, you need to undo it, you don't know how you did it, so you're going to surrender. I did it. I don't know how I did it. I did it. I must undo it. I don't know how I did it. I did it. I must undo it, but I don't know how I did it. I've done it. I've done it. I must undo it, but I don't even know how I did it. And then you go, therefore, I've got to surrender this to you. And I said, for me, I said, Holy Spirit, higher self, God. You know, I said, hey, look, the part of me that loves me, that knows the answer to all of this stuff, I'm surrendering to you right now because I must undo it. But the way that I undo it is surrender. The way that I undo it is not for me to try to come up with another one of my plans to handle the situation. That's not undoing it. You haven't changed your mind until you've given it over to your higher self. You haven't changed your mind until you've given it over to God. You haven't changed your mind until you open yourself up to something greater than you. Until then, you're just choosing one more time another way you're going to fool yourself, create some kind of situation that doesn't have lasting happiness, get disgusted again and go back to the drawing board until you go one day, I did this, you know what, I must undo it. I don't have the slightest idea how I did this, but I'm going to surrender to something greater than myself. You know, that is how you know you've changed your mind. You have not changed your mind if you're still trying to choose among illusions. If you're still trying to come up with your ideas about what you think the problem is and then answer it based on your past experience, because your past experience was the learning that wasn't right that created the situation that you're trying to get out of. So every time you use your past experience to try to correct something because you're doing it on your own, you're only projecting that same experience into the future so that you can live it one more time. But you do it with different bodies, different sets, different scenery, but in your heart you know what? I've been through this before. I've had this feeling before. And you do it and you do it and you do it until you reach your limit, and there is a limit, and you can tell when you reach your limit, because when you reach your limit you always say there must be a better way. You always say there must be a better way, and you give up your attempt to come up with all your answers. If you are analytical, it is completely destroying your understanding of the truth, because the truth is whole, it's not fragmented. If you want to see the truth of a truth, you have to take one idea, apply that idea consistently whether you believe it or not. You'll never learn the course by trying to analyze it, because analyzing just breaks it down into different disunited parts that you don't understand. If I was chopped up and ground up on the floor, y'all would not recognize me. Breaking things down does not give you a clearer picture of what something is. It's wholeness that allows you to see.
That's good, thank you.
It's wholeness that allows you. And wholeness is joy. Wholeness is happiness. Wholeness is love. Don't believe nothing an unhappy person tells you about anything. Because an unhappy person has distorted perception, isn't taking any responsibility in seeing everything biased in their favor. There's never been a time that an unhappy person was fair about the person that they were upset about. It is no such thing as that. Because your very anger shows that you're not seeing the situation correctly, because if you were a true spiritual being, you would look at that situation in such a way that it would keep your peace, because you love yourself too much to let anybody take your peace away from you. So even if the person was doing something that should make you mad, you wouldn't even give them the pleasure of seeing you that way, or letting them stop you from having joy in a minute. You know, happiness is the best revenge. Happiness is the best revenge. You know, you want to heal everybody you were ever in a relationship with, ever? Be in a happy relationship now. Let them see you happy. And if somebody in your life goes to another relationship, no matter how you feel emotionally, see them as happy. Want them to be happy. Even if you're totally sincere when you say it. Because sincerity is not a requirement for the truth to be true. Sincerity is not a requirement for the truth to be. If it's true whether you say it insincerely. I can insincerely say, if you stick a fork in that socket, it's going to shock the fool out of you. I can say it insincerely. You know what? If you stick a fork in that socket, it's going to really shock you. But the truth is, whether I say it sincerely or insincerely, if you stick a fork in this socket, it's going to shock the hell out of you. So the truth doesn't matter to the truth how sincere you are, how much you believe it, how much you've accepted it. The truth could care less about your approval.
That's good.
That's what makes it so good. Well, I think my car is a perfect representation of the truth. Because the first thing the Course says is anything that's real is generalizable, which means that if it's real, it can be used by all things equally, and everything has access to it if it's real. If it's real, no one is denied it. If it's real, it's there for everybody. I said, you know, that's a good definition of real. I like that. I've never experienced it, but it sounds good. And I realized my car would let anybody drive it. My own car would run over me. It wouldn't even stop and go, hey, that's Earl. I'm not gonna run over Earl, even if you got your foot on the gas. No. My car would run over me in 2 seconds flat. If that's what and so I realized that my car, in a lot of ways, is practicing the love of God more than me. That was deep. That was a deep realization. I want you to think about that for a minute. Everything in your physical world would allow itself to be used by anyone who wanted to use it, and which is the definition of love. So I finally understood when it said the world is made out of love. Everything is available to anybody just for the asking. Just for the, you know, we came up with the fences and stuff and saying this is my property and that's your property. But basically, all the peace trees would have let anybody pick them.
Yeah.
So we're in a world where everything is given to us freely, to all of us equally. We're the ones who are not practicing the love because we don't do that. If we was as spiritual as our cars, we would be happy. That's deep. That's so deep I don't even believe I said it. Yes, brother.
I wanted to go back to when you were talking about the post that person put on your video.
Right.
And how, like, you know, a lot of times people want you to change for them.
Right.
And then like I've had experiences where like when I don't change for the other person, they call me selfish. They say I'm being selfish.
You're being selfish because you won't allow yourself to be controlled by them.
Yeah.
That makes you selfish. They try to control you for their own purposes, but
Yeah.
Isn't that a great joke?
Yeah.
Did you see how, isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
And whenever somebody would say that to me, well, you're being selfish. Oh, okay, I'm being selfish because I want to do what I want to do, but you want me to do what you want me to do. That's not.
Yeah.
So that, you know, so again, you can only be manipulated and controlled by other people if you want to manipulate and control other people. So the manipulator is guaranteed to be manipulated. It's built into the system, not out of fear or guilt, but that's just the way it is. You know, so you don't have to feel guilty unless you choose to feel guilty. There is no one making you feel guilty. You're just making yourself feel guilty. Now that sounds easy to say, but at an emotional level, we still find ourselves giving into guilt, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, we do that because that's what we learned. That's what we were programmed to do. That's our vibration. That's our, you know, you are existing on a level that corresponds with your patterns. And when you meet someone that you think is that one of one, that person of persons that you want to spend all your time with, what you've really done is met someone who matched your patterns perfectly. Like whatever your pattern is that you need to work on, that'll be the person you go, oh, that's the one. Oh, it feels so good when we get be with them all the time. I want to make a life with them now. Oh, we just understand each other. We see things the same way. We want the same thing. This is the one. This is them. I've been waiting. The damn treasure map finally worked. Let's go. I have just found the person who matches my patterns perfectly. I have just found the person who matches my patterns perfectly. What do you mean? This is the person that matches every pattern you have that you want to change, or even the ones you appreciate. They are a perfect match to your pattern. How do you know? Because you singled them out. We know that's true because love never singles out. Love goes to everyone equally. So love wouldn't walk in the room and go, I'm love, but I want you. Forget the rest of me. Forget the rest of me. I want my finger. Forget my hand, forget my toes, forget my head, forget my shoulders, forget my torso, forget my legs. I got to have you. You want the finger.
Were you channeling that?
That's what we're going to chant. We want the finger. We want the finger. We want the finger. We If that isn't the cult, I don't know what it is. What is it? It's the finger cult. You can't come in unless you give everybody the finger. I personally would love to join a group like that. They sound like fun. Actually. You know they got to be playing. They got to be joking. They got to be having a good time. So remember that if you are sacrificing, I'm saying this stuff because I need to remember it. So I need to tell myself, I'm the one that did it. I must undo it. I don't have any idea how I did it, but I'm ready to surrender. I'm ready to surrender to what? The part of me that knows, the part of me that's unlimited, the part of me that's spirit, the part of me that's God, the part of me that's love, the part of me that's innocent, the part of me that plays the game that's called seek and ye shall find. Yes. Instead of the old game, which is seek and do not find. He said that's what the Course in Miracles teaches. That's the only two games in town. There's a group of people that's always seeking and finding, and there's another group that's always seeking and never finding. Yeah. And the seekers and not finding, they are totally enjoying themselves and getting off on the thrill of the feeling of not being satisfied. And then those who are satisfied are getting off. We both win. But we just won't go ahead and feel good even in the stuff that we think we don't like. It's like, oh, that's the best anger I ever had. Oh, that's good anger. I'm gonna finish this first paragraph. I tell you, boy, y'all would die and you'd be reincarnated before I finish the section. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth, because every word, every sentence inspires me in this book. If I read any sentence in this book, I can talk an hour.
And you do.
Yeah.
How does one recognize the difference between surrender and giving up?
Okay. When you give up, you're giving up from a sense of failure. Failure in the sense that there's something inherently flawed in you. Where if you're surrendering, you're just recognizing that there's something that does know and you want to cooperate with it. So one is empowering because it's a form of cooperation. The other one is a form of despair and rejection of self and rejection of your power, would be my perception of it. And also, but if you were to give up from the front, but I'll tell you something though. I'm still not knocking giving up. Giving up is a cool thing. I've seen some of the biggest breakthroughs happen in my life when I got to the point I just gave up. Right. So I'm not going to say that any form of giving up is bad. It's not. If you're really giving up. It's not fake giving up. I mean, you really are giving up. That's fake giving up, so you think you can fool God and then get some help. But then there's the real, oh God, I have given up. Won't you help me higher self? I really don't want to be in charge no more. You know you lied through your teeth. And then like the soonest, how you know? Because soon as things get just a tiny bit better, you go right back into control again. It was a totally insincere giving up. But Spirit still played along with you to give you a chance to see if you do it again. Because Spirit doesn't ever punish. It doesn't ever hurt. It doesn't care. You know, if you notice, Spirit doesn't care. There's nothing to care about. Everything is cool. Everything is all right. Mm-hmm. You know, the Course says that a lot of care and a lot of concern is just nothing but attacking somebody. That's kind of strong, isn't it? You know, because I was all dedicated to being a nice person. I'm so glad I gave that one up. That's too much work. So, yeah, because you're constantly siding with the fact that this person or situation is weak and that there isn't something powerful in their lives and that they're not indeed powerful beings. They're so weak you have to walk around being concerned about them. So continued concern is really just an attack. It's nothing but a reinforcement of the idea of the weakness. Now, that's not the same as asking for healing for that person. That's not the same as seeing them as light. That's not the same as giving them to the Holy Spirit. That's not the same as saying, let's get you in the car and take you to the doctor. I'm just saying they're not weak beings. They're not weak beings, ever. No matter what they seem to be going through, they're not weak beings. If you're really conscious and someone told you that you had cancer, you wouldn't care. You would go, oh, okay, that's an interesting experience. I think I'll see what it's like. Now, I don't know many people that way, but that doesn't mean that at some level of consciousness you're so sure of your identity as a child of God, as an unlimited being, that there's nothing that could frighten you anymore. I can see how that could theoretically happen one day, that I could be so centered that I didn't believe anything could hurt me because I am connected to the source. And at that point, even if someone gave you that illusion of a death sentence, you wouldn't care because you would know you can't die. Who you are cannot die. But in the meantime, you take care of the physical body because it's your medium of communication and healing and becoming aware again of your connection to spirit. So your body is your way of knowing your way around here. It's your avatar. It's your spacesuit. And now you're supposed to start using your body to make choices that actually will come true instead of using your time trying to come up with another plan that you come up with for how you're going to satisfy yourself in the world. You would be saying, you know what I want? I want to remember who I really am. That's my first thing. Because if I recognize that I'm powerful and I'm loving and I'm connected and I'm supported and I'm creative, then I know that there's nothing that could happen that could not be healed and could not be handled. So what I need to remember all the time is I'm not a victim of my world and I'm not a victim of things around me. That needs to be my number one priority, is never lose sight of my power. Now, everything else comes after that. That's putting God first, and then everything else will be added. It's putting the truth about you first, your spirit first, that you're not a victim first, that you are powerful and innocent first, that you're the one who's choosing, that you're not a victim of anything that's going on, that you did it, you realize you must undo it, but your way of undoing it, since you don't know how you did it, is you're going to give it up to something greater than yourself because you simply recognize you don't know how you did it. And that's honest. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I was born. I don't really know where I came from. I don't really even know what I am. I just know what I've been told. I don't know about you all, but that's all I know. From the time I was born, people were incessantly giving me descriptions of who I am. And then when I got to the point that I could accept those descriptions on my own without any help, I became a member of society. So a member of society is just somebody who accepts all the false beliefs that they've been taught without questioning them. And that's all a member of society is. It's agreed upon insanity just for the sake of being able to watch the Broncos. Which can also be used to wake you up to God. Because everything can be. Breathe. I have done all this.
I have done all this.
I must undo it.
I must undo.
I must undo it. But I have no idea how I did this. But I have no idea how I did this. Therefore, I must surrender to something else. 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 So you got to do it a little fun. I'm dedicating this to the video commentator. Wherever you are today, let peace extend from my mind to yours. 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 Let peace extend to my mind. Now, I would like for you to think about a person that when you don't feel complete peace when you think about them. I mean, when you think about them and you see them as cute and super, you go down the other aisle with your eggs. I want you to think about that person, and when you think about them, you don't really feel better necessarily. Somebody that you might have been projecting on recently. And you say, let peace extend from my mind to yours. 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 Now picture yourself See yourself as you see yourself in the physical body right now. I want you to look at your body and your mind. Body. Say to your body, say body. Body. Oh, body. Help me become as spiritual and loving as you. Help me become as spiritual and loving as you. You notice that your body just follows orders. That it goes wherever you tell it to go. It sits wherever you tell it to sit. It does whatever you ask it to. It serves you 100% of the time. So we should be grateful to our body consciousness. Our body consciousness only wants to help us recognize that we are not victims of anything. Your body consciousness wants to help you recognize that this could be the most beautiful, loving, fun, healing experience and place that you could ever exist is right here in the physical dimension. Because in the physical dimension, you chose to give yourself the adventure of walking among your own thoughts and feelings and emotions in physical form. You are walking among your own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs in physical form. It should be fun. It was supposed to be a vacation. Why did you go get a job? Would you acknowledge yourself for opening yourself up to hear this much? Please, if you give it up to you, give it up to you. Ow! Whoa! Okay. Now we're going to do the love offering. God, here I am, a teacher of God. And I ain't getting nowhere near that, I tell you. But what that showed me again was, the only reason why he's getting $125 million is because that's the vibration that he's on. That's the consciousness level that he's on. That is coming to him by right of consciousness. And he is just as entitled to receive the results of his own consciousness as any one of us are. So it's like we mustn't be haters. Because, you know, that he's receiving that because he deserves to receive it, regardless of what I think about it, because that's the way the universe works. You always receive that which you give and that which you deserve in your own state of mind and your own state of consciousness. That's why years ago I dedicated myself to changing my mind. That there could be nothing more important. If my reality is coming from my own consciousness, including every aspect of it, then there could be no more important work that I could possibly do than allow my mind to be corrected and my mind to be healed. And so it took a lot of the pressure about the outer, because I knew that unless I changed my mind to be able to be a good receiver and believe that I deserved something, I would just keep creating stuff that I wouldn't let myself enjoy. And that's what the metaphysics, that was what the manifesting stuff was doing for me. It's like in my dream, I saw that I could visualize something, write down something, affirm something, focus in on it, and it would indeed occur. I don't care whether it happened with anybody else, it sure happened with me. So I had a chance to pretty much get all my fantasies taken care of in my 30s and 40s. You know, it's like anything I could think of, I did, if I wanted to. And I'm still here. My point in saying that is that the experience of having what you want is a great way to get yourself to the point that you start asking for what you really want. So I always encourage people to go ahead and get their toys, as I call them. Go ahead and get your toy career, your toy house, your toy car, your toy, you know, because I got toys I like too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But look at it as toys. Of Course in Miracles calls it toys. Like all the stuff that we're after, he just calls it toys. That we're like little children we're completely caught up in our toys. And sometimes we let people play with our toys, and sometimes we don't let people play with our toys. And sometimes we get jealous about who got the most toys and who got the prettiest toys. And then, but you reach a time that you start approaching a spiritual maturity that makes you want to put toys away. Not from a sense of it's not okay, or that it's bad, or it means you're not spiritual. It's just that you're no longer interested because there's something greater that's gotten your attention that's actually offering you more joy. Not only offering you more satisfaction, but it's easier to get than all the stuff you've been trying to do. That was the other thing. It's like, I really believe I'm on the path of the lazy man's guide to enlightenment. Because I don't want to do a whole lot. I'm telling you about me. I see all these different things that people be doing in order to be awakened, and it's like, I'm sorry, no, God, I'm lazy. I need a path for lazy people. And then the Course in Miracles came. Because it's the path for lazy people. Lazy in the sense that they don't want to spend their day doing what they don't want to do. They don't want to have more complication and more stuff that they're trying to figure out. It's like you just get tired of it. You know, it's like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Everybody around me can just have as complicated lives as they want to have. That's I support that, and I know you're bored. And when you really get bored, you're going to use your creative powers to create lots of drama. And you create lots of drama because you're trying to convince yourself that you're alive and important. So we understand that you keep creating all these situations you're worried about so that you'll just know you even exist.
Wow.
Because without your drama, there wouldn't be nothing happening in your life. So you got to keep a relationship drama going all the time. At the same time, you got an incurable disease. And at the same time, we have issues with your breath. Things about your breath must be handled quickly. You know, what are all these things? They're just distractions to keep you from your real purpose, which is to recognize who you really are as a divine being so that you can come into your power. And when you come into your power, everything that's causing you fear right now would just disappear out of your sheer awareness of your power. How do I get there quickly? By being surrounded by other people who are also sharing the same purpose, so we can reinforce that idea and share it with each other. Because when you share an idea, it becomes stronger. And the more who share the idea, the stronger the idea becomes, until the idea does what all ideas do, and manifest in your physical reality. So the purpose of these classes is really to save us time if we would use it correctly, because you're in a room full of people that shares your purpose. So we should be spending, which is what we're doing. We should be spending that hour, which is what we're doing, reinforcing the ideas about our power and our innocence and how loved we are. This would be the last place that we try to reinforce the idea of guilt and sin and lack and not being enough. But it's a perfect place for you to share honestly that you have those feelings. Because being spiritual doesn't mean being in denial about what you feel and pretending you don't feel what you know you're feeling, because that creates fear and that creates conflict. It'd be much better to say, right now, today, I'm trying to defend against the truth. How are you trying to defend against the truth, Earl? Well, I'm feeling very depressed, very unhappy about what happened on my job yesterday. And I'm also a little upset about thinking I might have to get my transmission replaced. That's the form that my defense against the truth, that's the form that I'm coming up with today to prove to myself I'm not this unlimited child of God that can have total peace. So that way you're being completely honest about your feelings, but you're not weakening yourself with them. Because you're owning them, and you're saying it's the way you are trying to make yourself forget how wonderful you are. I just had this big fight with this person called me the most selfish person in the world. Wow, that was just a trick to make me think that I'm not the innocent child of God. Now, I need to pay attention to what was said, because obviously there's some part of my consciousness that believes that. Because if there wasn't some part of my consciousness that believed I was a selfish person, I never would have heard it said. So if you hear it said, it's going on inside your consciousness, even if you don't think you have that quality. Why did you hear it? And why did you even recognize what was being said?
Wow.
You are selfish. What? How would I know what that was to even go, what? Unless it was a part of my consciousness too. So if you want, so agree with thine adversary quickly. It's like, you're the most selfish, horrible person to ever live. You are absolutely right. There is a part of me that could definitely be the most selfish, horrible person that's ever lived. But you know what? I'm not going to act from that thought with you right now. But I certainly agree I'm that way. There's a part of me that's definitely that way. There's a part of me that will take you out. We best hope I don't choose that part of me. Right?
Oh, no.
So we might want to forgive each other, right, brother? Because there's no one that's more frightening to a person in the world who believes in death than a person who's not afraid of death. A person who's not afraid of death scares the hell out of people who believe in death. That's why nothing's more scary than a suicide bomber. You know what I'm saying? That idea that, my God, this person would just take themselves out in the process of taking everybody else out. When you want to really start living, get rid of your fear of dying, and then you start to live. But it's almost impossible to get rid of your fear of death as long as you think you are a body and not a spiritual being. So it's an identity problem. All things are identity problems. If you're a loving person, you'll have loving relationships. If you think you're not, it's an identity problem, and now you have relationships that are fearful. Another thing, if you're the kind of person that's really attracted to drama and guilt, then you won't be attracted to a peaceful person that's loving. You might even call them dull. At first. You find that they're not dull at all. Actually, the more innocent you feel, the more incredible things you find yourself doing that you never would imagine that you would do because you feel innocent. So innocent people are much more fun than guilty people, let me tell you. But there's that in-between period where it looks like nothing's really happening. There's no really juicy stuff going on. And it's at that moment that you need to stay with your back against the wall and don't pay any attention to that voice that says, go back and do what you did before one more time. Try to go back and grab the past one more time and just do it differently with somebody else this time. If you're at that point where it seems like nothing is really particularly turning you on or turning you off, you're kind of like in this kind of in-between place, stay up against the wall. If you stay up against the wall and keep on giving yourself the truth, before you know it, you will pass through the wall and you find yourself on the other side.
Good.
So try not to give in to that temptation to go back because maybe you're bored or you're not satisfied and you've been trying the truth and it looks like it hasn't worked. So right now you're feeling that temptation to get off the wall again and try one of your plans one more time, which you know is never new. It's just always another appearance of the exact same thing you've done before, and you know I'm telling the truth. You know, it's like, well, my happiness will come through this business now where it used to come through that business over there. What do they have in common? Their businesses. You know, it's going to come through this person over here where it didn't come through that person over there. What do they have in common? They're both people. You know, you're not really doing anything different, it says, until your purpose is. So if my purpose is still just to be a successful business person in another way, I haven't changed my purpose. But if my purpose is to use my desire to be a successful business person to wake me up and everybody else around me be a means for truth, now my business is no longer in opposition to the will of God if I want to have one. And then the Course says what will happen is Spirit will send you two types of people. There will be people specifically sent to give you the money that you need to do your spiritual work of awareness. And they will seem like they're receiving a service from you, but they really are being sent to give you the money that you need to continue to render this service of love. And then there are going to be people who, he says, show you how much you need forgiveness. Some months I have a lot of them. But sometimes I don't. So what happens then is you realize that it's no longer you hustling for clients. It's no longer you hustling for customers. It's no longer you hustling for students, or hustling for mates, or hustling for anything, because you realize that all you have to do is ask to have them sent because you're ready to fulfill your function. I'm ready to fulfill my function of having a loving relationship, and I say I'm ready to learn, then I will be given and offered, and it won't be one of the relationships where it's like a prearranged bride that you hate when you see her. You know, say, oh my God, God sent me the worst person in the world to try to love. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I should have never gave it to God. I knew it, because God's going to send me somebody that's really not going to make me really happy, just give me a spiritual lesson. That's old thinking. That's old thinking. That's the old paradigm. The Course says you learn through joy and happiness, that you're much more prone to go to London with me if you had a good time when I took you to Boulder. So if Spirit is smart enough to want you to follow it, it certainly isn't going to entice you to follow it by constantly giving you pain, which would make you want to turn away. It would be moving, you would find your life would become more and more harmonious, more and more easy. So if it's not looking that way, it just simply means you haven't begun yet. It means the Course says the hardest part of anything is the beginning. So if you feel like your life is hard right now and you're going through challenges right now, be thankful, because it means you're at the beginning of your transformation. So be glad. If it seems tough right now, it's like, okay, so that conversely means you are right now in the hardest part of that situation. And that's good news. To know that you're dealing with the hardest part of what you're going to have to deal with right now. If you feel like you're dealing with the hardest part, that is the hardest part. And so the hardest part is the beginning. And so now you are about to begin. And so now you will start to allow things to become easier, because that's what you deserve. And anything that tells you otherwise, that's the voice of the liar. That's the voice that is not the voice of God. The voice for God wouldn't tell you all the reasons why what you want can never happen.
That's for sure.
So it's not hard to tell the difference. You know, you all know when the voice of love is coming through me and the voice of fear is coming through me. You know it.
Earl, just really quick, one thing that I'm noticing is that the voice for love is telling me that because okay, the ego always tells me that I need to get, I need to have.
Exactly, you get to get.
But the voice for love is telling me that I already have.
Right.
I don't need to get. I already have.
See, this is the way you look at it. Go, okay. This is the way you look at it. I'm gonna let y'all go. This is the way you look at it. I have already succeeded. Now I'm seeing what I went through to succeed. That's the premise that makes the change. I have already succeeded. I've already reached back to enlightenment. I've already reached back to total love. I've already reached back to my abundance, to my bliss. I've already accomplished all of that. It's already happened. It's done. I came in at the end of the movie, and now I'm sitting here to see what happened before the hero won at the end. That's what you're doing. You're looking at what you went through in order to be in bliss and ecstasy. And when you look at it that way, it changes the whole relationship of your physical reality every day, and it becomes much more powerful and easy. Just a little tip. All right? I appreciate y'all. Thanks for staying over a little bit. I apologize. You all have been awesome. Thursday, 7 o'clock, Course of Love. All my classes on video are on my website, earlpurdy.com, so you can watch them again.
Nice to meet you, Ty.
You too. Yes, sir.